Today is 28th of May, a Saturday, and this is the 34th session for Mindfulness for Beginners in English. And I would like to warmly welcome Bhante joining from Nissarana Vanaya Forest Monastery. Venerable Bhante Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero is representing Nissarana Vanaya Forest Monastery today for this session. And I would also like to thank all the audience who are joining us through the Zoom technology, and this will be shared live on Facebook page of Satipasala Foundation as well. And for us to commence the first step of the session, which is in-session mindfulness practice, I would like to invite Bhante to commence the session with advice from Bhante. Over to you, Bhante.
Hello, everybody. So we will start with the practicing session. So today I thought we can do a sitting session. For this, you have to make sure that you are seated comfortably. When you have that comfort, you can close your eyes and pay attention that you are sitting. So in this present moment, you are seated and you are attentive. You can close your eyes gently and pay attention that you are sitting. When you have that awareness, you feel that various objects appear in your field of awareness. Just take a few seconds to notice what are the things that are appearing in your field of awareness. Keep an open mind and observe the things that are appearing. Maybe there are some thoughts, maybe worries, maybe future planning, maybe some incident that happened recently. So thoughts could be there. In addition, you may hear various sounds from the surrounding. Maybe you hear vehicle sounds. Maybe there are some people talking, working in the background. In addition, you feel your body as well. Maybe the breath is prominent. You can feel how your body is breathing naturally. Maybe you feel the pressure on your back. Maybe you feel a vibration inside your body. Maybe you feel pain inside your body. So our idea is to be attentive. We are not going to control this flow of objects. Instead, we try to be attentive. When you hear sounds, be aware that you are hearing. When you feel your body, be aware that you feel your body. When you get thoughts, mental images, emotions, Be aware that you feel these things. In this way, we try to be present. We try to be aware about this present moment. Among all these things, you are calm and peaceful. As a group, we will try to practice this awareness for a few more minutes. Now you can slowly open your eyes. Now when we practice this awareness, we become one through the practice. Because field of awareness is common to humankind, mankind. So although the objects that appear might change, might vary, this awareness is common to all of us. So in a way, when we practice, we become one. We become one through the practice, through this field of awareness. So we invite all of you to practice on your own. Try to practice this every day. Take some time, few minutes. Try to do the mindful walking. Try to do the mindful sitting. Make it a habit of your daily life. And when you do various activities, then also you can try and practice this awareness. So when we practice, more and more we understand, we experience the mindfulness that we are talking about. Although we try to explain it in words, you have to experience this. When you experience, you really know, you really understand the practice. So that's the idea of this in-session practice. And with that, we can go forward now, Mantha.
Thank you so much, Bhante, for that practice and insight. I also felt my mind like a battlefield at times, and then a little bit of calm was there in certain moments. It's very insightful to do this during the program. And for today's session, next we will go on to the Q&A session, and I would like to invite Anupama to present the 2 reports for today. And I also thank the 2 attendees who have sent these 2 reports for today's session. Over to you, Anupama. Thank you.
Thank you, Namantha. Avasarai Bhante, I hope you can hear me clearly. Okay, I shall proceed with reading the reports. So report 1. Sitting meditation. Primary object, watching breath. Distracting thoughts to begin with, but mind came to breath, noting in and out breath. Mind noted changing lengths of both in and out breath and changes in temperature. A warmth spreading through the body which became sweaty, and this passed after a while. Mind again came to breath, meditated for 30 minutes. Daily activities. Attempted to watch each action for a short period. Holding cup, noting hardness of handle and cool sensation on fingers. Noted the start and ending of the sensations. The bending of fingers to hold the cup, again noting beginning and end of that movement. Stretching of hand to press a button after noting finger stretching out. The softer finger compared to metal button and pushing door of microwave door to close it. Noted warmth on hand, once mug taken out, and movement of holding cup. Each movement noted to have a start and end. Mind went to breath naturally and to feet when walking. With much gratitude for the guidance, Bhante, and to the organizers. End of report 1.
Okay, so when we hear that practice report, you started with some comment about distracting thoughts. So even Namantha mentioned that when he started practicing today, he felt these thoughts. In a way, you think that these thoughts are coming and disturbing your practice. That's our usual idea. But when we really practice, when we put more and more hours into our practice, we understand we go and bother the thoughts. It's not the thoughts that come and bother us. Instead, we go and bother the thoughts. It's not the sounds that come and bother us. Instead, we go after the sounds. We go chasing after them. So that when you put more and more hours, you can really understand. Because these thoughts, if you don't do anything, their usual behavior is that they appear, they last for a while, and they disappear. These sounds, if you don't go and bother them, their usual way is that they appear, they last for some time, they disappear. That is how these things are functioning naturally. But the problem is that we go and bother them. We create more and more confusion out of this natural process. So when you practice little by little, when you put more and more hours, you understand that these things, they naturally appear and disappear. Appearing and disappearing, that is natural to these mind objects. Let it be thoughts, let it be sounds, whatever. You name it, their behavior is that they appear and after a while they disappear. Unless you go and bother, unless you go and chase after them. So when you practice, when you put more and more hours, you understand these thoughts appear. They come without my invitation. They do certain drama, and after a while they disappear without my permission. So let them come. Let the sounds come, let the thoughts come. Try and see, are they disturbing you, or you are going after thoughts and disturbing them? Try to see. When you see that, you can really feel that if you don't go and bother them, they appear, after a while they disappear. That is how they behave. Then you can change that very first sentence. When you write next time, you can practice and see whether this is true. Truly the thoughts are coming and disturbing me, or is it the other way around? You can practice and see. If you see that there is a difference, when you look with an open mind, if you see that they are just thoughts that are appearing and disappearing, then you can write in a different way. You can write in a positive way. You can tell that thoughts appearing, disappearing, not bothering, not disturbing. First you have to practice. First you have to put this into use and see whether it is true. Then you can change your way of reporting. That's the first one I want to mention. Then another comment I want to make, that when you do your day-to-day activities, it's a very good practice to notice the sensations of your palms and feet. Right? When you notice, you can really feel whatever the object you are touching, you feel it against your palm. You feel the temperature difference. You feel the texture. And throughout the day, you are touching various things. You are picking them up. You are putting them down. So you are doing them, these various activities. So each time you do, you take few seconds to notice. Okay, I'm picking this up. This is how I feel. And you function as usual. Then again, you are putting it down. This is how I feel. Then again, you function as usual. You go and open a door. This is how I feel. Then again, you function as usual. You walk. This is how I feel with my feet. Just for a few seconds, every time you do something, you notice. So you are reporting that. You have practiced that way. So it's a very good method, that day-to-day activities, every time when we do something with our palms, when you walk with your feet, you try to notice what are the sensations. So when you pick something up, you can feel, right, this feels like this. Then you put it down. Then you pick something else. Then it feels differently. Then again, you put it down. Then something else, you pick it up. It feels differently. You put it down. This is how you function throughout the day. So it's a good practice to notice the sensations of your palms, the movements of your hand. You can notice sensations of your feet. You can notice the movement of your feet. You can notice. So try to practice this way. When you practice, the mindfulness naturally goes to these things. When you train your mind with that, then you can feel every time you touch something, even without intention, your attention goes there. When you open a door, even without intention, you feel how you are doing that activity. Initially, you have to train again and again. With time, you feel that you are naturally mindful about these activities. So thank you for sharing, and we invite you to share again next time.
Thank you, Bhante. I will now move on to report number 2. Walking meditation for 30 minutes. Started walking inside on carpet flooring. Became aware of the intention to walk for at least half an hour. Attention was on the lifting, moving, and placing of each foot. Noted the light bounciness of the carpet on the soles of feet. The pressure between the foot and the floor was highest when placing of each foot. Felt this pressure releasing with the lifting of the foot. Noted the lightness of the foot while moving through the air and how the thigh area felt tighter as if it was helping to keep the foot in mid-air. Noticed how weight of the body moved slightly forward when placing the foot and how the body weight tilted back when lifting the other foot. Thoughts about past and future arose in the mind and noted this after the attention returned to the action of walking. Continue to watch how the mind returns to walking after each time thoughts appeared. Walking continued for another while. Mindful sitting. Meditation object breath. Duration 45 minutes. Sat on the cushion and adjusted the posture to a comfortable position. Did a body scan few times and relaxed the shoulders, face and scalp. Few contact points were prominently felt, such as legs touching the mat and the bottom against the cushion. When breath appeared, it was noticed around the nostrils. In-breath was shorter and cool, and out-breath was longer and warmer. Sometimes the breath seemed longer and other times shorter. There were other changes to the breath. Example, at the beginning, breath was continuous and now it felt as if breaking up. Tightness of right knee was experienced as discomfort and then pain. Noted slight irritation in the mind. Chose to watch the pain. It gradually expanded to a bigger area and the center of the pain moved from one point to another. Then noticed a long in-breath. Irritation had disappeared. Thoughts about past and future arose in the mind, but after a while, these too passed away. Pressure felt where the legs would have been, but couldn't feel the outline of legs anymore. Mindfulness returned to breath. Mindfulness during the day. Noted the inner chatter during various day-to-day tasks. Mindfulness returned to the task at hand. Once the chatter was noticed. Also noted how the thinking mind was forming stories and how these stories were giving rise to concerns and fears. It was surprising how the action of the task continued, for example, cleaning the kitchen, folding clothes, preparing food, etc., while the mind was busy with inner chatter. Mind had drifted to thoughts many times while the body was cleaning the kitchen or preparing food, and yet, when the mindfulness returned, it stayed a bit longer with the task at hand. Same process noted with folding of clothes afterwards. It felt like a game of hide and seek, to notice when the inner chatter would take the mind away from the task and how the mindfulness returned to it afterwards. A bit similar to guiding an unruly child back to safety when they drifted away. Venerable Bhante, I would appreciate your feedback on how to adjust and move forward with the mindfulness practice. Theruvan Saranai.
Okay, so good report. Now, even last report, we had this comment. Now you are noticing changes of your breath. So initially, you don't feel that. When somebody is starting their practice, they don't feel that. So after a while, when your mindfulness is becoming more and more stronger, you feel these changes. Earlier, the breath was continuous. You can feel a single breath. But when you practice again and again, you feel it is breaking. It is not continuous. You feel these changes and you feel the breaks in between. So what is happening? Many people, they confuse themselves when they see that. They are telling the breath is changing. They are telling, I'm going to die sometimes, right? Because breath is disappearing. So fear arises. But truly what is happening is that your mindfulness is growing. It is becoming stronger and stronger. And when it becomes stronger, it starts to see the reality. Earlier you saw a single breath because your attention was not sharp enough. Now you notice the breath is breaking. Now you start to see the real nature of this world. Similar comment about the pain. So non-practitioners, they are so fearful about the pain. They say, my head is aching. My stomach is aching. My leg is paining. They are saying. And when you name it, you have a doctor related to that. You have an illness, then you have a doctor. You can go and take some painkillers. That is how the worldly people react. But when you observe this pain, you can see that it is not permanent. It is not a single pain that is there. Instead, you can feel this pain is breaking into pieces. And it is moving here and there. Pain, it has this nature of bubbles. You can see these pain bubbles appearing. After a while, they disappear, they break. Another location, you can feel the pain is appearing. Again, they break. So with very sharp mindfulness, you can notice that pain is not still. It is moving here and there. And it is with this bubble nature. Bubbles are appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. One moment it is aching, paining. Next moment it is totally released. So this is seeing the reality with stronger mindfulness. And when you see that, you can really feel how these things are deceiving us. You see there's a single breath. But after a while, you notice that this is breaking. You call it a single pain, a headache, a stomach ache. But after a while, you feel that it is disappearing. It is moving here and there. So again and again, the practitioner is motivated to observe these things without coming into conclusions, without deciding, just observe. Again and again, you observe. Thousands of times you observe without coming into conclusion. Because if you come into a conclusion, next time when you observe, that conclusion is not right. It is ever evolving, ever changing. So better not to come into a conclusion. Instead, keep it open and try to observe. Keep that open mind. Try to observe again and again. Thousands of times you observe. What is this? Okay, it appears like a pain. Is it truly a pain? You again observe. Then you feel it is breaking. Is it breaking? You again observe. Then you feel it is disappearing. So you really can't come into a conclusion. Instead, it is changing. It is ever changing. Better not come into a conclusion. Because if you come into a conclusion, you are caught there. Instead, this is an ever-changing flux. It's like a burning fire. Although it appears like a solid object, when you get a bit closer, you feel that it is ever-changing. So similar, this outside world that we feel, this body that we feel, our mind that we feel, they are all changing. So that is why it is said that you can't jump into the same river twice. Some people, they try. They go to the same location. They jump once. Then after a while, they jump again. They take photos. They say, I jumped into the same river twice. Can you do that? Can you do that when you think? You can really feel that water is always moving. Although it appears like the same place, it is changing. And the person who jumps, that person is also not the same. His mind is changing rapidly. His body also changing. So it says that you can't jump into the same river twice. So you experience that in your practice. When you do it again and again, you feel how fast these things are changing. And it's a good view towards your practice, towards the world. Then you mention about inner chatter. So you can really feel that these things are appearing naturally. You have no control over them. So you are mentioning that you try to be like a parent who is behaving a child. You know what wise parents do? They just keep an eye, but they don't try to control the child. They just let him be, let him do his own thing, but they just keep watch. If you try to behave the child, then it's a struggle. Instead, the wise parents, they appear that they don't care, but they keep an eye, they watch. They allow the child to function as usual, allow the child to jump here and there, allow the child to do its work, but they are keeping an eye. So when we practice mindfulness, we too try to become a wise person, wise parent. Initially, you try to behave this child. It is so difficult. Again and again, you feel that it's like playing hide and seek. You bring him back. Then after a while, this person is missing again. Again, you chase after and bring him back. After a while, this person is missing again. So more you try this, the more you understand it's better just to keep an eye what is happening. We don't try to behave the child, behave this mind. Instead, we'll just keep an eye. That is a much better way of practice. But with time, you understand. Now you have tried this. Now try again and again. Try to see how to become a more wise parent. Allow the child to function. Allow the child to jump here and there. Just keep an eye. What is happening? Okay, he is there. What is happening? Okay, now he has moved. What is happening? Now he is crying. What is happening? Now he is playing. You are just keeping an eye. You are not involving in the process. Instead, you just watch. That is a much better approach. But when you practice like this, it will naturally come.
Very valuable insights. I'm sure everyone, not just those who submitted the reports, but everyone will find ways and means of using those wise insights to help further their practice. We now move on to our Q&A session. If there's any questions or queries from the audience, please do raise your Zoom hand and we will allow you to mute yourself. I don't see any raised hands, but I have a question myself. Taking the analogy of the wise parent watching the child and just observing, I mean, in real life, I suppose, as parents, when we watch our children or observe them and we see them getting into dangerous territory, we sometimes actually jump in and intervene. How does this work with the analogy of mindfulness?
Yes, so that's how the parents are, even when you start practicing, you try to control your mind a lot. That is why we get those comments about, disturbing thoughts, sounds are disturbing. So various ways you try to control, you try to behave this child again and again, right? But when you are experienced, when the parents are experienced, they know where to interfere, but it's very little, right? You don't have to interfere so much. Instead, let the child make mistakes and learn, right? Let's say the child is going after a candle, right? So you try to get it away. You try to explain, okay, Baba, this is not good. This is burning you. This is harming you. Don't go there. But when you say that, what happens? The next time also the child is going in that direction. Again and again, the motivation is towards that direction. But what happens if you allow? Definitely, the child will burn his hand. But the next time, he won't chase after that candle, right? He will learn a lesson. So there are situations that you have to interfere, of course. But most of the time, you can allow him to function and try to learn, try to let him make mistakes, let him learn from them. So that is how, even during the practice, that is how we are doing. More and more you practice, more you understand, I can't control this. This mind is totally out of control. You think you have some saying in this. You think you have a choice, but more you practice, you understand this is out of control. When you realize that, more you practice, when you realize more and more, you allow it to go, allow it to behave naturally, and just watch, just keep an eye. So in a way, we are separating from that process. We are just becoming the observer. We don't try to control. More and more you practice, less occasions are there that you have to control. Less occasions are there that you have to jump in between. Instead, you allow this to go naturally and just be with it. Even the observer is not there, you are naturally mindful, you are naturally there. So that is the evolution. That is the progress in the practice. So day one, we say, do that, do this, walk this way, sit this way, breathe and observe. That is how we start. But within few weeks, if you are getting proper guidance, even within few weeks, you can move towards that direction. You can tell that person, allow it to happen naturally and just be the observer. And it is good for both parties, good for the child, good for the parent, because child is making mistakes and learning. That is how. Even my childhood, when my mother says not to do something, I have this energy, I go in the other direction, I do the same thing. So I have so many wounds, so many stitches on my body because I was not listening. If she says not to do something, I want to do that. That's how I am. So in a way, it worked out all right for me, right? Otherwise, you can't become a monk. You can't do that, right? Because the entire society will go against you. Parents will say not to do it. The society will say not to do it. So that's how it works. You have to go against the flow. You have to go against the current. So kids, they have that nature, but more you try to control them, more you try to influence them, they become so dependent on you. That's not the proper way, because one day they have to go to the society. One day they have to stand on their own. One day they have to face these people, deal with them. So if you are not there to protect them, what will happen? So it is better you allow them to make mistakes at an early age, allow them to learn from those mistakes. And when they grow like that, they will naturally have that quality of making mistakes, learning from them. They know how to deal with people. So those are valuable skills, even in our society. Even some young people that come here, some of them, their parents have watched them entire life till age 20, 25. And they come here suddenly and they can't even function. They can't even wash their clothes. They can't even eat their meals. They can't even, do a small task. So really difficult to face. And, many people, they easily take advantage of those type of people because they don't know the society. They have no experience. So it's much better allow them to make mistakes. They make mistakes. Same goes for the mind. Every time you allow the mind to go its own way, try to be the wise parent, try to be the observer, then you are learning. That is how we learn. If you only stay with your breath, there's no progress in your practice. The thoughts must come. The emotions must come. The difficulties, pains, aches in your body, they should be there. That's how you go the wisdom. That's where the wisdom comes. Otherwise, if you just observe the breath, there won't be any wisdom. It is just the initial part of your practice. But when the thoughts come, when an illness comes, when a problem comes, then you really develop the wisdom. That is how the practice is maturing. So try and see how you can support that.
Thank you, Bhante. That's certainly very helpful. I actually recall my daughter once, she touched a piece of chili and we said, don't touch your eye. And she went and did that. And then she screamed and shouted. But after that, obviously, she never repeated that again. So yes, thank you for those wise words. I can see Bandula's hand up. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question, Bandula? We can't hear you, Bandula. You appear to be unmuted. If you're having problems with your mic, maybe you could type your question into the chat box.
Can you hear me? No.
Yes, can hear you now.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry, some settings. Okay, thank you. Oscar Bante. The last 2 weeks we're doing little practice, not much. So I actually missed a couple of days, Bante, 3, 4, more than 4, 5 days. So my sitting practice I noticed after 5 days. I never noticed before how my breath getting subtle and subtle. So normally I thought it is it's I don't felt my breath, but this time I was fortunate to see how it is gradually getting smoother and smoother, like so. So it's some sort of a experience. Other thing I want to, during 2 weeks time, I was, as you advised last time, I try to watch my thoughts. So some thoughts actually I didn't have much trouble at all. So I managed to see it calms and goes away, and same time some thoughts is naturally fade away. So, but certain things even without my intention, it has carried me. Just started thinking mind, inner chatter started. So I could little bit develop little bit patience now. Let the mind to talk and let it finish its story. So during that the practice, the thing I noticed, if I not try to judge things, it is much better. So it can easily let go, because if you try to judge it, then it creates certain personalities, the people, me, and the sense of me and mine, everything comes up. So that was my practice, Bhante. I have a little question, Bhante. When I was walking, or if you are with the breath, I felt there's no me or there's no person there, but not every time I didn't get that the understanding. Say, like, if you walk, if I'm really into the walk, say, like, I can feel the sensations, everything. I know there's no me or mine there, but some other times, like you do certain work, I have a little doubt. I don't know whether it's still you have a me or certain person there inside. So I know that mindfulness is, if it is really mindful, there shouldn't be a person, I or he has no opportunity to form it. So that was my question, Bhante. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you have noticed the changes in your breath. That's a good sign, but it's not over. You just notice the initial part of it. When you notice those changes, you have to closely observe and tell us the rest of the story. So even breath, it is telling a story. You have to closely observe and see. So when you do that, you feel within 30-40 minutes, initially it is happening. But more you observe, you notice that it is happening fast and faster. You can really tell the remaining part of the story. So the story, when you observe your changes of your breath, that is just beginning, but you have to tell the remaining part. In order to do that, you have to observe again and again, right? That's one thing. Then when it comes to thoughts, various emotions, if there is no judgment, it is much better. But naturally the judgment comes. It varies. One person's problems doesn't mean anything to somebody else. For one person, it's a huge problem, but for somebody else, it's nothing. So that's how it goes. So these judgments, these various opinions, it depends on us, right? But when you practice, you just keep an open mind. You try to notice what is happening. You try to notice this process of judging people, judging yourself, various things are there. So just becoming the observer, you try to take control. In a way, you allow it to happen naturally. You notice more and more things about yourself. That is why we call this practice self-discovery. You discover yourself. You discover how you are behaving. You discover your flaws. That's how you do, right? So it's a good sign that you are allowing them to happen and you are observing, you are noticing them. So if you want more difficult situations, if you want to develop more and more patience, come to Sri Lanka. This is a good time. You come to Sri Lanka, you go to a street, you stay in a queue, then you get a proper chance to develop patience, right? If it is not challenging enough, you come here. Then this country, you have a huge challenge these days. So people, they are struggling. So you can really feel how the mind is creating confusion out of these things, how they are suffering more and more due to this mind. It's not that it's bad enough that their situation, they have to do so many things to survive, but in addition, they have this problem in their mind. They are becoming more and more weaker in their mind. So it comes to a breaking point. That is the worry. Maybe if it doesn't recover, it will come into a breaking point. Even 9th June, it happened, right? It happened once. So that's how it goes. So initially the outside conditions deteriorate, but gradually the mental conditions also deteriorate. That's how it goes. So even the corona pandemic, right? You had this issue, we had this pandemic. Then maybe like 3 months later, you had this mental health issue. Yeah, a lot of people suffered depression, various mental health issues because they had to stay in that closed environment for months, even for years. So that's how it comes. So even when things go bad in a country, within few months, people's mental health, that will also deteriorate. So it is going in that direction. So you can see how these things are involved, right? Initially, the outside things are there, but the problem is coming to your inside, to your mental health. So if you keep an open mind, you can see how the judgments are there, how you are creating various issues out of nothing. You are just trying to observe. And when we practice, we are not saying there is no self. Instead, in the practice, we say, okay, assume that there is a solid self, right? That's the way of practice. It's a null hypothesis that we are using. We are assuming that there is a solid self. And we try to prove it. We try to observe it again and again. So initially you feel there is this solid self. I'm walking, I'm sitting, I'm breathing. That is how you start. But more you practice, now earlier reports you could hear that they are saying that breath is breaking. Now initially you thought that there's a solid breath. Now it is breaking. Initially you thought that there's a solid pain. Now it is breaking. So it's a null hypothesis that we are using. We are assuming that there is a solid self, and eventually you will disprove it. That is what will happen. So observe again and again. Then you realize that although I think there's a self, although it appears time to time, you can see that there is no solid self. It is more and more hollow. More you observe, more you feel the hollowness. So that's how it goes. So don't come into any conclusion. Just keep an open mind. Continue this observation. Continue to do it. If you need patience, come to Sri Lanka. Try experiencing difficult situations. Try facing difficulties. Don't try to avoid them. You don't have to chase after them. Instead, they will come naturally. When they come, you have to face and see how I am reacting, how I am responding to these situations. So that's how you develop your practice. So continue to report back to us.
Thank you very much, Bhante. Thanks for the advice.
Thank you, Bandula, for the question, and Bhante for the wonderful advice given. Do we have any other questions? I'll give you maybe 30 seconds or so to raise your hand. It appears we have no more questions, so I shall now hand over to Namantha. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anupama, for conducting the Q&A session, and much merits to Bhante for such insightful advice. And also, I am very glad to hear about the null hypothesis about firstly assuming that there is an I and then trying to understand how that is broken from within yourself, rather than trying to establish the fact that there's no person as I. I think Panchani has raised the hand. Yes, Panchani. Bante, is it okay if I give a moment for Panchani to ask the question?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. Yes, Panchani, you can speak now.
Avasarai Bante. In my practice, Bante, when I go to work, it's very hard to stay away from Dasakata, as you know, because you have to engage in conversation with your colleagues. But at home, I try my best not to engage in unnecessary conversations. How do you actually, what is your advice? Like, it's very, very difficult in a work scenario to avoid these things. So, how do you go about it? That is my question, really.
Okay, so even the monks, they have this problem, right? So initially you try to avoid all the 10 types of talking. But with time, then you realize that there is nothing to talk, right? You can't just even open your mouth, because if you open, you are telling something, blah, blah, blah. And then that's how it goes. So initially it helps to avoid these things. It helps to, be aware yourself. It helps to talk in a mindful manner. But with time, although these things are there, you are doing it for the sake of functioning. When you go to your office, you have to talk with people. When you deal with people, you have to talk. Your family members, you have to do your day-to-day functioning. So in a way, you are doing it for the sake of your responsibility, for the sake of functioning. So initially, those are problems, but with time, we try to just, somehow make an excuse, compromise, and somehow function. That is a much better way of thinking, much better way approach towards these things. Otherwise, if you avoid talking to people, it's difficult. Various other issues may come. If you avoid talking to family members, then it's difficult. So in a way, we are not trying to avoid the reality. Instead, we try to face it. Instead, we understand this is not the truth, but we are doing it. Even sometimes the Buddha was questioned, these arahants, these noble ones, they speak, they use this language. They say, I am walking, I am talking, I am doing, but there's no real self. Are they not real arahants? Are they not real noble ones? This person is asking from Buddha. Buddha is simply responding. They understand the conventions of this world and they are using that. They are skillfully using that. Not just using, they are skillfully using. With wisdom, they are using. They understand these worldly conventions. So that is how you have to function. Otherwise, if you try to avoid everything, then it becomes more and more difficult. You just have to deal with various people in this society. So function accordingly. That is the wisdom that we are talking about. Otherwise, you are just avoiding. It won't work forever. Instead, you have to use the wisdom. That wisdom part is lacking, especially with the practitioners, the Buddhist practitioners, it is lacking. They don't like to face the reality. Instead, they go somewhere else, some other world they want to be in. But the reality, you have to face this world. That is why we hear all these stories, right? You try to avoid this world. You try to go into a forest. You try to find solitude. But that's not the way to realize through Nibbana or through peace. One day you have to return back to the world. One day you have to start dealing with this society. Then only you can see whether you have achieved a real peace. Otherwise, till there are no people, till there are no problems, you are peaceful. So it is said that there are two types of tranquility. One out of the ignorance. Because there are no people, because there are no problems, your mind is peaceful. Two, the second type is out of wisdom. Although there are problems, although there are various people, still your mind is peaceful. That second one is the real peace. Otherwise, first one will only last till there's a problem, till there are people, right? So you have to make sure that you implement this wisdom part into your practice. Talk for the sake of talking. Deal with people for the sake of dealing, but with wisdom. With wisdom. So that skill you have to develop. That is why when the practice is mentioning, it is saying that this is the wisdom part. This is the skill that you have to develop. You are dealing with the world with wisdom. You understand these worldly conventions and you deal with them. That is how you have to do.
Thank you, Bhante. That's really helpful. But at times, it's also okay to just give a smile and just be quiet, isn't it, Bhante?
Yeah, that's also wisdom. You know when to talk and when to keep quiet. I'm not saying all the time and talk. You talk on occasion. You keep quiet. You ignore people. So various options are there. There's no solid answer. Instead, you have to evolve according to the situation. Even it is said that when there are like crazy bulls, you don't go face them. Instead, you go some other route. You avoid them. Right? So that is how you function. There is no fixed answer. Instead, depending on the situation, you develop. Certain people you have to avoid. Certain people you just smile, shake your head and go. Certain people you talk. So that's the wisdom part that we are talking. If I give a fixed answer, then that is also wrong. So I am just keeping it open. I'm just showing you various directions. Then you have to implement it. You have to go into the society. You have to be skillful. So that is the wisdom part that we are talking. So try implement these various people. You have to, deal with various ways. So you may make mistakes. That's fine. You make mistakes and you learn. But if you are doing the same mistake again and again, then you have to question that. So that is how you have to go forward.
Thank you, Bhante. Theruvan Saranai.
Thank you, Panchani, for that question, and much merits to Bhante for the explanation. So I will next move on quickly to the beginner's introduction. In 2 minutes, I will share the screen. So you can see on screen the 5 steps to commence and continue your mindful practice. Firstly, there are 2 YouTube videos which are based on initial instructions for a beginner, and I have shared this in the Zoom chat section. You can go through these 2 videos and gain a fairly good idea of mindful walking practice and mindful sitting practice. And the point number 2 would be to allocate some time daily so that you can spend about 20 minutes or spanning up to even 1 hour if the time is available for you to allocate for 1 session of mindful walking. And similarly, you would advise you to go next into a mindful sitting session to the same amount of time as a mindful walking session, and keep doing this for a few days, and then you are ready to submit your first report on mindful walking and mindful sitting sessions. And if you are doing this continuously, you can continuously, since the first report, you can continuously send us reports on a weekly basis even, where you highlight what you experienced during mindful walking, what you experience is during mindful sitting. What happens is, when you write you experience in your own words, you get to gain mastery over the sessions, over the practice, because in addition to being mindful, you are putting that into words. So that is another exercise which couples with the mindful practice and strengthens it further. So if you haven't submitted a report yet, some of you might not have, it's very good. It feels good to write that report and send it. Even I write reports. So a similar way, you can go on improving yourself this way. We will get Bhante to comment on your report, which will be useful to you and to all the listeners. So there is a feedback loop which will help you strengthen your mindful practice into the future. You can use the Google form or the email to send the report, and there is a video. The audio files are maintained in a web location. I will send that link through to the Zoom chat section. With that, I am finishing off with the introduction for beginners. I will stop sharing the screen, and I believe we have a little bit more time, and I would like to invite Bhante for a brief talk on mindfulness as possible, as long as possible for Bhante. I will hand over the microphone to Bhante. Over to you, Bhante.
Okay, everybody. So today I had this topic in mind, but I don't know what it is. But during the discussion, we came closer and closer to that topic. So you are asking various questions. You are having certain comments in your reports. So this is very much related to the topic that I had in mind to discuss today. So when various things happen, you usually come into conclusions. You come into opinions. You want to make decisions. You try to react. So that is how we are functioning usually. But the practitioner is advised to observe again and again. The practitioner is advised to observe without coming into conclusions, without coming into judgment, without acting. The practitioner is advised to observe. Keep an open mind and observe what is happening. Not just for a single or second time, but instead observe for thousands of times. Try to keep an open mind. So in a way, you have to have patience in you. If you are in a rush, if you want to make a decision right away, if you want to blame somebody, then that's not the right practice. Instead, you just keep an open mind and you allow things to evolve. That is very much related with our practice. Now, when you walk, sit, this experience is coming closer and closer. You feel that, various things are happening. You feel that thoughts are bothering me. You feel that I can't be mindful because of this environment, because of the people. That is how you feel. But you are advised again and again to keep an open mind. Just openly observe. Don't come into conclusions. Don't come into judgment. Instead, keep an open mind and observe again and again. When you do that, you feel that although the thoughts are appearing, they are naturally passing. If I don't go and bother these thoughts, they are naturally passing. Although the sounds are appearing, they are naturally passing. If I don't go chasing after these sounds, they are naturally passing. So in a way, you have to be patient and observe. You have to have a patience in you and observe again and again without reacting, without coming into conclusions. So this is very much related to your practice. This is very much related to your day-to-day life. And this is very much related to the wisdom that we are developing through our practice. If you don't have that patience, if you don't like these thoughts, if you don't like the sounds, if you only want to observe your breath, then this wisdom won't come. But in a way, as humans, we are blessed. Because although you try to avoid, you can't avoid this world. Although you try to avoid people, they will somehow come after you. Even living in a forest, in a monastery, even I can't avoid people. They come and they somehow create problems. They somehow ask questions. So that's how it goes. So as humans, we are blessed in a way that without payment, the people come and they create problems. Without searching for them, the problems come. Without you paying for them, your body becomes sick. Without any fee, various people come and blame you time to time. So when these things are there, when these things happen, these are occasions that we can develop wisdom. So when such difficulties come, usually our mind is swiftly moving into a conclusion, swiftly moving into a judgment. That is how our mind works. But the practitioner, they again and again keep an open mind and try to observe, try to be the observer, let them evolve themselves and try to see what is happening. Again and again, you keep this openness. So various people come, they blame you. Then you allow it to evolve. Then your body becomes sick without taking painkillers, maybe with a herbal tea or something. You just let this sickness evolve for a while. When problems come, you don't have to solve them right away. Instead, just let this problem show itself. So you are allowing these things to evolve and try to see what is the truth that is there. So in a way, in Buddha's terms, Buddha is saying, when you look at something, there's something prominent. When you look at a forest, you see a big tree, huge tree. That is how your attention works. But the practitioner, he sees through this tree to see the forest. He's saying, don't get misled by the tree that is apparent. Instead, see through the apparent to see the transient. See through the tree to see the forest that is behind it. Because the real problem is not the tree. The real problem is the forest. This forest has a potential of creating thousands of such trees. So Buddha says, see the forest behind these things. See through the tree to see the forest behind. That forest is the real problem. Milarepa, he says in different words. He's saying, when you throw a stone at a dog, the dog will chase after the stone and try to get revenge. The dog will try to bite that stone, try to get revenge. But when you throw a stone at a lion, the lion won't go after the stone. Instead, it will come to the root. It will turn its attention towards the root, towards the source. So Milarepa saying, nobody dares to throw a stone at a lion for the second time. Because it is coming towards the root. It is coming towards the real source, the real problem. So in this life that we are living, certain things are apparent, they appear. This is the reason. Somebody come and blame you, you think, this person is the problem. You get sick, this is the problem that you think. Something happens in your family, this person is to be blamed. That's how you think. That's how your usual reaction is. But the practitioner, he's advised to see through this problem, to see the real nature. So our mind usually grabs attention. It goes to the most prominent one, the apparent one. You have to develop this new view. You are trying to see through the apparent, see through this problem, and see the background. What is the source of this? When you get hit by something, what is the source of this? So that outlook, that view, we are developing again and again. So that's the idea of mindfulness. We keep this open mind without judgment. We try to observe again and again. Not just one or two times, but again and again we are observing. Every day we are observing. When we come into judgment, when we come into conclusions, we observe that as well. Okay, now I have come into a conclusion. Now I want to blame this person. Now I want to chase after this person. So that is how it goes. But you do this observation day and night, again and again, you do. You try to maintain this open mind again and again. You try to maintain it. So in a way, you are training your mind to see through the tree, to see the forest behind. In a way, you are training your mind to see the root of this problem, to see the source of this problem. In a way, you are training your mind to behave more like a lion rather to a dog. So that's the training we are doing. That's why I am recommending you again and again, when something appears, don't try to avoid. Just try and see what is happening. When sickness appears, try to observe what is happening. Drink a herbal tea and observe what is happening. When somebody comes and blame you, observe how the anger is rising. Observe how your body is becoming heated. Observe how your heartbeat is going up. When various emotions, thoughts come, observe how they are influencing your mind. When you see something, observe how lust is appearing in you. So that's the real practice that we want to develop. That's the practice that will develop wisdom in you. Otherwise, if you just keep avoiding these things, as long as there are no people, as long as there are no problems, you will be at peace. But when somebody come and blame you, when something appears, you are in hell. For months, for weeks, you can't recover because there is no wisdom in your mind. You have not developed any wisdom. Instead, you train your mind to be peaceful when there is no problems, when there are no people. That's not the right way. You have to develop the tranquility that comes from wisdom, not from the ignorance. That tranquility, wherever you are, it may be in Sri Lanka, some other part in the world, whether you are alone or not, maybe you are in middle of like 100 people, maybe at your home, maybe at your workplace, wherever you are peaceful. Peace comes from the wisdom. So that's the real peace that we want to go after. That's the real tranquility that we are chasing after. In order to get that, you have to develop certain wisdom in your mind. So even when you practice, you sometimes try to say that I want to do concentration. After developing certain level of concentration, certain level of samadhi, then I will go for the wisdom. That is the usual way. That is how you think about the practice. But in a way, we are recommending just keep an open mind. Try to see whether the concentration is coming. Try to see whether the wisdom is coming. Whatever that's coming in your practice, accept that. That is how you progress. If the concentration is coming, then that's fine. If the wisdom is coming, that's fine. You have to accept what's coming and progress in your practice. So even you can feel when I'm, giving feedback on various reports, if you are closely listening, for some people, we are recommending the path towards concentration. For some people, we are recommending the path towards wisdom. So that's how it goes. Depending on your report, you get various advice. So in a way, we are keeping an open mind. We are trying to see what is appearing. If the concentration is there, that's fine. We start with that. We use that foundation to develop wisdom. If directly wisdom comes, then that's also fine. We use that wisdom to develop some concentration. So that is how it goes. The concentration and mindfulness, they go hand in hand. One supports the other. So that's how you have to approach your practice. Otherwise, if you do concentration meditation, that won't work. Even the same person, if they do a sitting in the morning, maybe concentration is stronger. If they do a sitting in the evening, maybe the wisdom part is stronger. So you can't really change that. Instead, you accept what is there and you move forward. That's how you have to approach your practice. Otherwise, you are still creating confusion, still creating pain in your mind. Even because of the practice, you are creating a stress out of it. This practice is there to find some kind of a peace in your mind. But out of the practice, you are creating more and more confusion. So that's how most people do, especially the Buddhist, they go after that. They don't like the practice. They only want to learn the books. They go for the temple, they do their thing and come. But they have no wisdom. That's the problem in this country. You can feel, although it's called a Buddhist country, no truth is there. The religion is there, but the Dhamma is not there. That's the problem. They appear to be like, Buddhist, but they have no Buddhism in their heart. Whatever they do, it's a sin that they do. Whenever they open their mouth, they tell a lie. Always thinking about stealing from somebody else. Always thinking about revenge. That's how they do. But on the Poya day, they dress in a white outfit. They take some flowers and they go to the temple. So they appear to be like Buddhist, but there is no Buddhism in their heart. So that's the basic problem in this country. They are bankrupt in their heart. So that appears, that is projected outwards. So instead, you try to keep it open. You try to practice. You try to create Buddhism in your heart. You try to see the Buddha in your heart. You try to be the Buddha. Even the Buddha is saying, don't try to worship me. Instead, listen to my words and practice. When you practice, you can become a Buddha. That's his invitation. If you are not practicing, usually he is blaming empty scripture. He's calling various people empty scripture because he is not practicing. Only the practitioners he appreciated, encouraged. Because when you practice, you become a Buddha yourself. That is the real Buddhism that will last. Not the Buddhism outside, but the Buddhism inside your heart. When you have that Buddhism, you have virtue in you. You don't try to, take revenge. You don't try to steal. You don't try to say lies whenever you open your mouth. Instead, you have some kind of a virtue in you. You are attentive. You have wisdom in you. So that's how we can really develop this heart or the Buddha within us. So in this practice, we are just, we are allowing things to evolve. Again and again, we keep an open mind without trying to reach a conclusion. We keep an open mind. Instead of having a reaction of a dog, we try to have a reaction of a lion. Instead of seeing the tree, we try to see through and see the forest, see the real problem. So that open mind you are developing in your practice. So try to practice, try to experience this for yourself. We can talk, we can guide, but unless you practice, you won't experience this. It won't take time, when you practice for a few days, you can really feel, now I'm moving progress. Now I am progressing. Now I am making progress. You can really feel. And when you come with some report, some experience, then we can guide you further and further into the practice. With proper guidance, within 3-4 weeks, you can really mature in your practice. I'm again saying with proper guidance, within few weeks, you can really mature. So that's the invitation for today. When things happen, when problems come, when various issues come, when family problems come, when people come and blame you, don't try to reach to a conclusion. Don't try to blame others. Don't try to reach into a judgment. Instead, keep an open mind. Try to have that open mind. Develop that open mind. That open mind will allow you to see through the obvious and see the transient. When you see the transient, you see the real source of this problem. You see the forest that is behind the tree. You see the source of these things like a lion. So keep practicing, and thank you for listening.
Many minutes to Bhante for that insightful talk, even though it was only about 20 minutes. There were a lot of worthy information conveyed in that, and the practice being taught here is so dynamic that it can tackle whether it is concentration that you are getting moved into, or whether it is wisdom that you are getting moved into. And also you can try to understand and try to bring about the Buddha within you by practicing in this manner. So like in certain other styles of meditation, here we do not mind whether we are moving into concentration or wisdom. So that's a very unique capability that you will be building. And you will find that the teachings in this session, in this program, will help you further understand how to face all of these situations. Actually, there will not be any situation that you are unable to face when you start mastering this practice. So with that, I would like to confirm the conclusion of the main items in our session. I would like to thank Venerable Bhante Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero for participating in today's session, and mostly, even furthermore, for Bhante's effort and careful attention on bringing value in this manner to the session. We would all wish Bhante all the best in Bhante's own progress in mindful practice. Secondly, I would like to mention Most Venerable Bhante Udairegam Dhammajiva Mahathero for insightfully requesting this program to come into actuality and also in sustaining it. Then I would like to thank all the wonderful organizers who have initiated this program, who have worked hard to initiate the program and who are sustaining the program. Then I would like to thank all the attendees who are participating in these sessions for the program, and we see that you are participating every week. So that is a great thing, and we appreciate that. So with all that, if anyone has a question, I can give a minute or two for anyone to post a question on or any criticism or suggestion. I'll give you 30 seconds to raise a Zoom hand. Okay, I think 30 seconds ran fast. So with that, furthermore, I have put in some messages to save time into the chat section, which are notifications I would usually speak. But here I have just put them into the chat section for all of you to see. I would sum up today's session, and we would hope to see you next week. And I wish all of you a happy and mindful week ahead, and hope to see you returning to the session with reports and questions to participate. Have a wonderful week ahead, and thank you. I will end the session now.